Hello and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Cassidy. If it's not, thanks for always tuning into my videos. I am co-hosting / participating in a pretty cool readathon in September called Battle-a-thon, where we get points for our star ratings on our books. So essentially it's trying to promote us reading 5 stars and, 5-star predictions. So I thought, why not set myself up for success for September and do a list of 5-star predictions? That way, when I don't know what to read, I already have a list to pull books from that I think I'm really going to love. Really awesome way to set my team up for success. If you don't know what Battle-a-thon is, I will leave the link to the announcement video down below. It is created by Mel from Melanor Reads. It's pretty freaking awesome. Join the red team if you're interested in winning. That's all I gotta say. It's bracket style, so kind of like sports games, and we're going head to head and facing off against teams. It's gonna be pretty epic and big, so you should definitely join. But I know you're here to really see what books you think I'm gonna love. So let me know down below if there's any books you're predicting to be on this list. Some I think I have talked about, some I probably actually haven't talked about and will surprise you. So I'm excited to see what you predict I'm going to put on the list down below. But let's get right into it. I did one of these 5-star prediction videos actually not too long ago, but I've actually read most of those books besides 2. So those 2 will be the first books on this list. That way I just have it all in one video so I don't have to keep going back to that video. So we're going to start with those ones. The rest of them aren't, and there's in total 10 books. The first repeat from the list is Emperor's Blade by Brian Stavley. I can't believe I haven't read this one yet. Really hoping that I get to it in September because I'm really confident that this is going to be a 5-star for me. I have read the first chapter. I really enjoyed the first chapter, and I think that it's going to be so interesting and filled with just tropes and things that I love. In order to help people understand why these are being put on my 5-star prediction list, I am going to just go over some buzzwords that I know this book has that are buzzwords for me. This book is 3 POVs, which is something I know really works for me, having the 3 characters. It is going to be political, as we're following a king and the kids. It has family bonds. As I said, we're following 3 siblings. There is kind of a school setting. There is a monastery, and then one of the other kids is a soldier, so I'm expecting some kind of school setting in those. And I do believe that there are magical creatures, not necessarily magical companions, but magical creatures, and I think that's going to add to really cool, unique world building, so things I really enjoy. But for those of you who need to know what this book is about, as far as I know, we're following 3 characters, 2 sons and a daughter of the Emperor. At the beginning of this book, the Emperor is slain, and the kids have to figure out who did it, but they're also trying to stay alive. And on top of that, they've each been put on different paths and destinies by their father that will leave them entangled into world mysteries and ancient enemies and inscrutable gods. We follow Caden the heir, who has spent 8 years in a monastery learning about the blank god, I believe is what it's called. Their rituals hold a key to some ancient power. We also follow Valen, who has endured the brutal training of an elite soldier academy, who fly into battle on gigantic hawks. Those are the magical creatures I was talking about. And there's a test that Valen has to survive, I do know that. And then we also follow Minister Adair, who was elevated to her station as one of the Emperor's final acts and is determined to prove herself to her people. She also believes she knows who murdered her father and will stop at nothing to see justice out. I honestly just think that this is going to be a 5-star. It's been sitting on my shelf for so long, and I stare at it all the time thinking, when can I read this? I'm going to love it. So yeah, there's the first one that was already on the list, but I'm just letting you know that I think this is going to be 5 stars. The next and last repeat from the last list is The Ship of Smoke and Steel by Django Wexler. Django Wexler is a previous author that I've literally adored their series, so I'm very excited to continue into his work and read Ship of Smoke and Steel, which is the Wells of Sorcery Book 1. This is a YA story. It can be hit or miss for me. Some of the buzzwords for this for me are an anti-hero, morally gray character, a young female badass, and also a heist. I really do like a heist. Also, can I just say, this cover is a buzzword for me. A female with a weapon, instant buzzword. In this story, we're following our main character, who is an 18-year-old war battle lord at night. Literally like Hannah Montana almost. At night, she is running her criminal enterprise, doing these things, and by day, she is trying to save her sister using her money and keeping her younger sister safe. When Azoka's magic is discovered by the Emperor's spy master, he sends her on an impossible mission, steal Soliton, a legendary ghost ship, a ship from which no one has ever returned. If she fails, her sister's life is forfeit. I'm really intrigued. I have read the first chapter of this one. I think it's going to be read really fast. I'm hoping it has some YA tropes that I love, but does them in a very unique way. Really expecting a 5-star from this one. I already know I like Django Wexler's writing, so easy on that one. The next book is really new to my TBR, but I am absolutely floored and excited for. There's something about this book that is just like, instantly, I feel like it's gonna be a 5-star. Like, I didn't think this through properly, I just saw it and was like 5-star vibes, 100%. So this one could be wrong, but I'm really hoping it's not. It is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I have not read a Chloe Gong. I'm not gonna lie, the inspiredness of her stories really scares me. This one is inspired by Antony and Cleopatra. Me and Shakespeare, we're not the best of friends. But this has a competition in it, and that is something I just eat up in my fantasy books. I do know this is slightly urban. I do think my hate of urban has been misrepresented. It's not that I hate urban setting, it's that I hate real world urban settings. If it is an urban setting that is in a fantasy world, I'm perfectly fine with it. If it is like our world, I dislike it because it just pulls me out of the story. Like, essentially this came from a book that was placed in Toronto, and every time it said Toronto, I just couldn't imagine fairies living in Toronto. That is my problem. I can imagine fairies living in a random world, but in Toronto, not so much. Anyways, the buzzword for this is literally just the competition setting, and that's all I needed. That's literally all I needed. I also do think it is a bit of a revenge story, which is another buzzword for me. Every year the Palace hosts a set of games for those confident enough in their ability to jump between bodies. There is a fight to the death across San-Er for a chance to win unimaginable riches. Reminds me of like a Hunger Games style story, which I loved the Hunger Games. I also loved that in Red Rising when they were fighting. I really love a fight to the death, apparently. We're following Princess Calla, who 5 years ago, a massacre left her parents dead and the palace of her empty, and she was the one who did it. Before her uncle King Cassa and his forces in Sand Catchers, she plans to finish the job and bring down the monarchy. Obsessed. Take down the monarchy, another buzzword. I didn't even know this had. And we have our another character, Anton. He is in the game to try and keep someone alive. These two end up in an unlikely alliance, and they have very different motives, but will they help each other win? I'm literally so excited for this. So excited, like jumping for joy right now. You can't see it, but I am, I promise. Next up is a big chunker that I really hope I get to before the first weekend of September, actually, because a bunch of my booktube friends have a book club, and this is their book club pick. It is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I'm putting this on a 5-star prediction because when I look at it, in theory, all of my buzzwords are here. Everything is here. I have one friend who didn't love it that I have really good in common taste to, and that scares me, but everything about this screams a story I should really like, so I'm really hoping it's a 5-star. That's why it's on here. The buzzwords in Mask of Mirrors that really work for me are 3 POVs, isolated setting, because it's in like a city, morally gray, and I have been told that there's a sort of kind of animal companion that people think I will like. So I'm excited about that. The synopsis on this book really doesn't tell you much about it, so I don't fully know a lot about this. I know we follow a city called the City of Dreams, and we follow a con artist who comes, and I think she ends up bringing corrupt nightmare magic to the City of Dreams, and it like weaves its way through as she's trying to do her goals. And honestly, that sounds so intriguing to me. Like, that sounds so interesting. I'm really excited to see how that goes and how that builds. Really, 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 really hoping I love this one, and I cannot wait to talk about it in the book club discussion. It is the Book Checkout Book Club. I will post a link to someone's channel for it. There's a bunch of them down below so that you can check it out. And if you want to read Mask of Mirrors with a group of friends, now's the time to do it. Especially because the 3rd book is just about to come, so it's like perfect timing. The next book on this list is Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. I am actually so excited to try this one. I've recently seen a little bit more hype about it again. I feel like this series is so underrated, but I always have someone on BookTube that I watch who is hyping it up, so I'm like kind of confused why it's so underrated. I think that people always seem to love it, so I'm really excited to get to it. This is set in the whole like Ryera series. The more well-known one is Theft of Swords, which is technically the starting point to the whole world, but you can read them in any order. There is no need to read them in order, and this one I think will be 5 stars for me. I'm not expecting Theft of Swords to be 5 stars for me, so this is just where it's at. The buzzwords for Age of Myth in me are animal companion, multi-POV, and religious themes. I do love me a religious theme to a story. I also think that this is going to be cool because it's set in such a wider world, and from what I know, this is kind of like setting up the legends that you see in later stories, which I think is kind of cool to see how legends could be twisted in later stories. Anyways, I don't really know how to explain this one. The back, I feel like, again, doesn't help me very much. I believe in the story we're following a world where gods were worshipped by humans, but at some point humans end up killing a god and the balance is kind of off. But of course the gods are stronger, so now only a few humans stand up against the gods. We're really close to being wiped out. We follow Wraith, who is reluctant to embrace his destiny as the god killer. We follow Suri, a young seer burdened by signs of impending doom, and Persephone, who must overcome personal tragedy to lead her people. The age of myth is over. The time of rebellion has begun. Another buzzword is rebellion, and also this sounds like 3 POVs, but I think the person who recommended this to me would have told me it was 3 POVs, so I'm guessing it's actually multi-POV'd, but we follow 3 main characters primarily. I've heard such amazing things about it. I cannot wait to read it. And the next one on this list I actually do not own because I recently had a friend read it and kind of tell me some things about it, and I thought, man, that sounds really cool. So the next one on this list is Empire of Exiles. The buzzwords for this are a really cool magic system. Like, I've heard people just say it's really unique and really cool. A murder mystery plotline, which is something I actually really do enjoy in a fantasy book, as well as conspiracy/politics of the world, which sound really, really cool and interesting to me. I also, when I look at the Goodreads synopsis, believe that there is revolution, so another buzzword. I believe in this world we're following different characters that revolve around the Imperial Archive as the murder mystery happens. There is one that witnesses them, one's a detective, and I think one's a lawman, and they're kind of just figuring out who killed this person, as well as I believe that there is a coup that happened a long time ago that failed, but could be trying to happen again. So I just expect a lot of like conspiracy happening and not really fully knowing who to trust in this story, and I'm really excited about that. I really don't know that much about this one because it's honestly so new to my TBR, like as of like 2 days ago. But I read about it, I heard about it, and I thought that sounds really good. I think I could really, really love you. The next one is also another new book to my TBR, and it is Sons of Darkness by Gaurav Mohanty. I hope I said that correct. This is the beautiful, stunning broken binding edition. So I really, really hope this turns out to be the 5-star prediction I think it's going to be, because I just have like the most beautiful copy. This says, the sun will set, the world will kneel, the stars will bleed as the shadows dance to a prophecy long foretold, a tale of war and ruin, a ballad inked in blood. Sounds incredible. The buzzwords for me and this one are dark fantasy, because I know it is kind of grimdark horror-ish, a vengeance story, and it is also Indian inspired, which probably makes it a non-Western setting. I really love reading books inspired by other cultures. I feel like we don't get enough of them in our storytelling, and I'm always looking for more. The summary of this book is not the most helpful. I feel like I'm saying that again and again and again. A nation that simmers on the blink of oblivion. So we have Senator Krishna and his third wife who have put their plans into motion, but they're soon going to realize that they're not the only players on the board and that not everyone is to trust. Alliances don't always work, things like that. I'm expecting a lot of politics. And then we follow a couple other characters. We follow Mati, the pirate princess of Kalinga, who has decided to mend her ways and become a good wife, but old habits die hard, especially one habitually uses murder to settle old scores. Sounds incredible. Brooding and beautiful Karna hopes to bury his brutal past, but finds that destiny is a miser when it comes to granting second chances. Hero turned torturer Shakuni limps through a path of daggers, meanwhile his foes and woes multiply, leaving little time for vengeance. Their lives are about to become yet more difficult as a cast of sinister queens, naive kings, pious assassins, and ravenous priests are converging where the sons of darkness are prophesied to rise, even as forgotten gods prepare to play their hand. I honestly just think that this is going to be so good. I'm so excited to read this. I keep trying not to drop all of my reading plans to read it. The next one on my list is Iron Widow. I used to think I was done with YA, but I'm now just being very picky about the YA I pick up, and this is one I think I'm going to absolutely love and adore. When we're talking buzzwords, this is a hybrid story. I believe it is both sci-fi and fantasy. I love a little mixture of genre bending in my books. We have an anti-hero young female MC against the world again. It is also again non-Western. It's Chinese inspired. And it is a vengeance story, destroy the patriarchy type story. Very excited. Literal buzzwords everywhere in the story. Now, can I tell you what exactly this book is about? No, let's read the inside. We're following a world where they have these like big ships that have a male pilot, and then they have a co-female pilot who powers the ship, but this often ends in death. When our main character's sister ends up being killed by her male pilot, our main character sets up and puts herself into this field as one of these female pilots in a order to get revenge. Her revenge ends up being very quick, and she ends up being labeled as an Iron Widow, someone who actually can sacrifice the male pilots to run the ships. Already impressed, already intrigued. Oh, so good. She ends up being paired up with another male who is supposed to be bigger and stronger, and I think we're going to see a battle of wills. And I'm just very excited to see how this unfolds. I've heard really, really good things about Iron Widow, and I'm so excited to try it. The next book on this list is Empire of Sand by Tasha Suri. This one has been highly recommended to me by Maria from Maria Might Read That, and I cannot wait to get to it. I really hope I love it. That's why it's on this list, of course. I really hope I love it, and I think I'm going to, just based on the buzzwords I'm about to tell you. So this is a fantasy romance, so again, it is a hybrid genre. It is also non-Western. I believe it is also Indian-inspired, but I'm not 100% sure about that one. And it is slow burn and gonna be really political. Very excited about this one. In this, we're following the Amathri, who are outcasts and nomads descended from desert spirits. They are coveted and persecuted throughout the Empire for the power in their blood, but Mare is an illegitimate daughter of an imperial governor and exiled Emrithine mother. She can barely remember whose face and magic she has inherited, but she can manipulate the dreams of the gods to alter the shape of the world. That sounds so cool, in my opinion. When her power comes to the attention of the Emperor's most feared mystics, she must use every ounce of will and power she possesses to resist their cruel agenda. And should she fail, the gods themselves might come seeking vengeance. Doesn't that just sound so good? And that's not even, like, that doesn't even have any of the fantasy romance parts set up in it. And I know that there is fantasy romance in here. Very excited. I think it happens in a desert too for some reason, but I could be making that up. I mean, Empire of Sand makes sense that it would be a desert setting, and I do love a desert setting. And the last book on this list is another fantasy romance. We have The Crown of Oaths and Curses by J. Brie, which is the Mortal Fates book 1. I'm very, very, very excited for this one. I have read the novellas that are set before this, and I really enjoyed them. So I already know I like the writing style, I like the world building, and I like our characters. So I think that's why I can probably confidently say I'm really going to enjoy this one. Buzzwords for this is enemies to lovers, slow burn, and I'm also expecting it to be very political. In this story, we're following two characters who are literally true enemies. One is killing the other's entire kind, and they are also fated mates, which means that they are mated to be together, and that causes some issues. The idea is that you'll never be fully happy without your mate, but then how can you love him if he's against you? And all this other stuff. We're following our main character who ends up giving herself to a king across the sea so that her mate can never find her. She ends up like helping that king, but of course at some point you have to go back home and face your destiny and face the ruthless mate that you were meant to be with. And I'm just really, really, really excited for this one. I can't wait. I think I'm going to love this, eat this up. I think this is going to be a fantasy romance that I absolutely like adore and like binge read. So I'm very, 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 very excited. There we go. There's my list. It feels good. It feels good to have a list of 5 stars that I can just look at. Now, hopefully I'll be right. Honestly, when making this list, I am insanely competitive with myself about this, and I want to be right. And so often when I make these 5-star predictions, I am completely and utterly wrong. So I sat down, looked at all the buzzwords. I really researched the books in this, like if people thought I would like them, who liked them that I trust. I was looking at Goodreads reviews. So hopefully I am correct at least about 50% of these. I would like a 5-star from 5 of these, at least. At least a 4-star actually. Like I'll take a 4-star even. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know down below if you have any 5-star predictions for me. Like, do you think I will like any books? Or if you have your own 5-star predictions for yourself, what books are you expecting to love that you plan on reading up and coming? And as I said earlier, if you're not already participating in Battle-a-thon, the link is in the description bar below. It's gonna be epic. Join Team Red. Amazing. I know. Incredible. I'm gonna win. We're gonna win, I should say, because you're joining my team. And then if you just want to leave an emoji just to let me know you were here, leave me a bunny rabbit emoji. I think there's one of those. I just like spew random emojis off the top of my head when I do this. And then if you want to connect with me on other platforms, my Bookstagram, my Book Twitter, my Goodreads, my Patreon are all linked in the description bar below. Have yourselves an absolutely remarkable day.